Get my headphones.
Okay. Greetings in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. Today we are gathered here for the reading of the Law of One, session 70. Let us remember to keep our hearts open with kindness and love for one another.
Thank you. I love that.
Yes, thanks.
Very nice. Stuff set up. Hopefully. Okay, good. It connected to the right thing. Here. Was everybody's week?
Good.
Oh, good. Finally, somebody said something. Hey, girl. I was like, is it not working?
I sat down ahead of this call, flipped on my TV. You and I have talked about unidentified.
Yes.
And it's right in the middle of something called First Earth Battalion, and they're talking about, wouldn't you know it, remote viewing. And I'm like, okay, universe, I get it. I need to jump back into my training. Of course, I talked to one of the actual military people who was part of the inspiration behind Men Who Stare at Goats.
Wait, did you say Men Who Stare at Goats?
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, I'm gonna need an explanation. I don't know what that is.
I think it's a book,
I've never
isn't it?
watched it. I heard of it.
There's a movie.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a movie. Okay.
I watched it. Basically, it was military program for making psychic soldiers. And the reason they would stare at goats was in an attempt to give them a heart attack. Because and then they would also try to walk through walls and things like this.
So they walk into walls then, is what you're saying.
They mostly walk, well, in the movie they walk into walls, yeah.
I don't even want to say my experience with it.
I'm going to have to find it and watch it. I've not seen it. Jim Channon was one of the people they were talking to, and he was behind the movie. And actually, he's the one that started Earth's First Battalion. But Officer Django, that was played by, oh goodness, can see his face, can't think of his name. There were other high-ranking military officials, but they used different names intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
But he said that was the character that was based on him.
I don't know if I want to watch this. Is it on Unidentified though? The channel?
Yeah.
Okay, because I have been addicted to that. We talked about that actually. I never seen it before. And my app came up on there, and I'm like, okay, what's this? I'm like, ooh, it's my kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They need to get more commercials though, with that whole like 2-minute countdown.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anybody else want to share about their week? Let's not all go at
once. There were some websites that they posted at the end of it, and I tried to get a few of them, but
we went tobogganing this week, and then just as with the kids, and then just as we were leaving, some family showed up, and I was like, "Is that Desiree?" the lady looked like you, and she sounded like you, and I was like, "Wow, this is what Desiree would be like if she had kids." You know, it's like, wow.
Yep. That's where it's probably it's a facet of me. We're coexisting.
Well, I was thinking maybe it's one of your relatives, like, I don't know. Has your family been in North America long?
Oh, yeah, like my whole life. So, well, I mean, for a long, long time, I would assume.
For many generations is what I'm thinking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know why this is being so like, to me when I literally have my whole genetic background. Yes. Everything's been Puerto Rico, North America. Or not North America at all, actually. It was Puerto Rico, and then it was all like Spain and somewhere's in that area.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
Let me make sure I got a lot of everyone in. Sorry, I can't see you guys as I'm talking, so I'm looking at everything else. Let me show you. All right. Okay, nobody else. I'm going to give him 60 more seconds, just 60.
I suppose maybe I should introduce myself instead of just being a lurker in the background. I'm Becca.
Sure, go ahead.
When you were comfortable with you would.
Hi, Becca.
Nice to see
Hi.
you all. I wish there was something local for something like this because it's so interesting. I've kind of been in it for a year, but a lot of it still kind of goes over my head. I'm just kind of like, I don't know about this
My
physics.
third time, and it's still I'm catching stuff. I'm like, oh, how the heck?
I know in some of the other groups, what we do is we do say our name and where we're from, kind of thing.
Go right
Ah.
ahead.
So like I'm Andre and I'm from Owen Sound, which is in the heart of Turtle Island or in the Great Lakes.
Okay.
Oh, is
Yeah.
that
So
me?
Becca, where are you from?
I'm in, well, from,
Guelph in
I've
Ontario?
lived here longer than 5 years my entire life, but I live in Florida right now.
Where
Oh,
at?
Florida.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
so
Where in Florida?
St. Augustine, the oldest city
Okay,
in the US.
nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm gonna go last.
Oh, kitty.
Actually, I like this better than doing the little meditation. So
Oh,
let's keep
oh.
this rolling.
Oh, okay. Robert, you're next.
I am, okay. Hi, I'm Robert. I'm in Marshall,
Hi, Robert.
Minnesota.
Where did you say? I'm sorry.
I said I'm in Marshall, Minnesota,
Ah, okay.
where it's a wonderful, like 8 degrees right now.
Good old Minnesota.
Hi, I'm Amanda. I'm from Wisconsin.
Cool.
I'm Michelle, and I'm near Dallas, Texas.
Oh gosh, my whole screen
Me
froze. Sorry, guys.
Maine here in Australia. It's very hot
Hello.
today.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's summer over there.
Yeah, but Tasmania
Yeah.
goes up and down. Like it's been cold, and then
Oh,
the morning started off cold. Yeah, well, cold.
Well, it's cold for you.
Yeah, as I say, define cold.
Celsius.
Yeah, well, no, it does snow here, but only it's
Okay, what's your definition of snow?
Yeah.
yeah, not your definition of snow. No, only up
If
in
it's
the
above-
mountaintops that you gotta go, effort to go and find it. But it happens. Yeah. Everywhere else, where I used to, where I was from on the mainland, there was no snow. So yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is there more people?
Yeah, they're trying to get in.
Who?
Graham said he was.
Benny.
There's
Yes.
nobody there.
Huh.
Maybe they don't have the link. I mean, you
That's probably it.
hardly ever see the link posted.
I
It's
know, my,
TJ.
my Zoom app kept the information.
Amy, Benny, and TJ, they're writing in the members forum that they.
All right,
they're-
so Amanda, did you put the link in there?
I
got you.
I'd have to go back and look at it.
No, I'm just yeah, all these people are there. Thanks to you.
I just
I'm gonna
looked at
take.
I got
it.
I'm gonna take a minute because I need to be offline.
Okay.
I'm gonna be present, but hey, this is snow, right?
That's
It's me
Yeah, that's
in
no.
Montreal, Canada, and it's minus 10
Nice.
right now.
Wow.
Look at that.
okay. Link's not working.
So,
Oh, golly.
hi everyone, and
Hi.
I'll be joining in spirit. I'm present and listening. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I used to live in Canada, so we did experience real snow for comparison. Yeah, it's not like
Oh, good. Oh, good.
We're having a
My-
snowstorm right now.
oh yeah.
Mhm.
My friend just came inside and he's got snow on him.
Oh.
Always the sweetest thing.
We moved down
Hi,
here
Joe.
3 years ago from Buffalo. And I'm
Mhm.
like, this year, I'm so glad we don't live in Buffalo.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what though? We only got
It's
hit
been a little
once.
while. There's a
It
lot
was
of
one
crazy right now.
huge.
In the whole world,
What is that?
Maybe someone had the radio on or something.
Yeah, my phone. I
No,
had to
someone
turn
was
it down.
talking. I
Oh,
couldn't
okay.
see who was talking. Were you talking, Becca, or Michelle?
I thought somebody else was piping in about Buffalo.
I think Amanda said it was her phone.
Mhm.
Amanda, you're grounded. I live like an hour and a half
I'm
Maybe-
always grounded.
He's muted too, guys. There's more people coming in. I'm letting them in. So they got hit really bad. We all did. We got hit really bad, and then nothing. Nothing.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it was green grass until like the last 2 days it started to snow again.
Mhm.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah, me too. We're getting snowstorm. I could hardly see in front of me. I was out today and I was going somewhere and I just couldn't see hardly. It was slow driving, that's for sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
everybody.
I've got at least 2 feet of snow in my backyard.
Oh, yep.
Wow.
I am
Been
going.
there for weeks, since December.
Is that a cat or a dog?
Where do you live again?
The dog.
Hmm.
The southwest corner of Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Southwest. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up.
It's on the prairie where the wind blows steady.
Oh, in the prairies. Yeah, it gets cold in the
Yeah.
prairies.
Oh, yeah.
Cold, yes.
Oh yeah, I see it.
It's a little house on the prairie.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
Sorry, guys. I had to post it in the page. Again.
So
No.
TJ, do you want to introduce yourself and say where you're from?
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hello. Yes, TJ. I live in Virginia, in the U.S., and I've been on these calls a few times before, but I usually am busy on Fridays, or like last week, I kind of just forgot and fell asleep on the couch watching TV. But I'm glad to be here again, trying to learn more and just kind of understand everything. And I enjoy listening to everyone's input and look forward to the session.
And did Janae introduce? Janae, I don't know if you can hear us. No. Okay. How about Bene Lafa? Can you hear us, Bene Lafa?
It's connecting to audio on that one. So we have Amy.
Okay.
Amy, would you like
Amy.
to introduce yourself? We're kind of just going around since there was a link, and I still have a couple people trying to get in.
Yeah.
And where you're
it's
from? Hmm.
West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Yeah, you can sing a couple songs we have.
I literally do that to everything. If any part of whatever I'm saying, and it could be a serious conversation, doesn't even matter. And it clicks with a song, like I will totally ruin.
That's funny. Me too. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I do it.
Happily.
I get in trouble.
Come on, Israel. What's going on with your stuff? He's joining from 2 different things. Well, I can continue to do that. Who else?
Sure.
Anybody else?
Trevor, would you like to introduce yourself and say where you're from? Nope. There he is.
There he is.
Hey gang, how's it going?
Hey.
My name's Trevor. I'm from Tasmania in Australia.
Where's Ed?
Yeah.
Ed.
He's here.
Yeah.
But where is he?
He's here. Yeah. He's in
Hi,
the
Ed.
UK.
Yeah, on my screen, he's on the very bottom row.
You guys can see. I only have
I only have a
8 to
You
9.
need to maximize your screen or something.
My screen is.
Oh, it is
now it goes
maximum?
to 9. Mhm.
Or-
I got 10
Trying to
people.
make
on
it
the
smaller.
screen.
I don't
I
know.
have 14.
What is going on? Okay, so full disclosure, I have been having really weird things going on with my computer.
Mhm.
So I don't know quite.
Me too.
Could be a monitor issue.
It could be operator error.
Could be.
I don't
Ed,
like.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. I just can't work out how to get my video working for some
There
reason.
he
Hi, Ed.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good. So
Hello.
Hello.
How's everybody?
I had to do that.
fantastic.
You want to tell us where you're from?
Me? I
Yeah.
am from Essex in the UK. Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
All right, so I think that's pretty much everyone except Israel, but his thing's messing up. He'll get in here soon enough, but he's from Oregon. Oregon. I'm Desiree, and I live in New York, upstate New York, not at the city, right outside of Syracuse. So I know where Buffalo is. All right, so I'm just going to jump right into the reading. We did all of this. So bear with me. Oh, also, let's make an announcement now for that. Let us all mute our microphones and then only unmute them when we're discussing, when you're going to talk, so that there's not overlap, because I've been watching like the playbacks, and it's hard to hear what anyone, like what we're saying, because it literally cancels each other out. But by all means, though, with your full love and happiness and eagerness, dive right in. I love that. I'm not going to shut down anybody's, not trying to shut down anyone's shine. It's just when we all get talking at the same time, it cancels everything out. And then nobody who's re-listening to it can hear. Everyone's like, all right, shut up. Okay, got it. Okay, share, sound. No, I'm just going to hit desktop. Start meeting. Thing. Hide the floating meeting controls.
Number 70, September 9th, 1981. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. We communicate now. Questioner. Could you please give me an indication of the condition of the instrument? I am Ra. We are gratified to say that it is as previously stated. Questioner. Why do you say you are gratified to say that? I am Ra. We say this due to a sense of gratitude at the elements which have enabled this instrument to maintain, against great odds, its vital energy at normal vibratory strength. As long as this complex of energies is satisfactory, we may use this instrument without depletion, regardless of the distortions previously mentioned. Questioner. The instrument has complained of intensive psychic attack for the past diurnal period, approximately. Is there a reason for the intensification of this at this time? I am Ra. Yes. Questioner. Can you tell me what this reason is, please? I am Ra. The cause is that with which you are intimately involved. That is, the cause is the intensive seeking for what you may call enlightenment. This seeking upon your parts has not abated, but intensified. In the general case, pain, as you call this distortion, and the various exaggerations of this distortion by psychic attack, would, after the depletion of physical complex energy, begin the depletion of vital energy. This instrument guards its vital energy due to previous errors upon its part. Its subconscious will, which is preternaturally strong for this density, has put a ward upon this energy complex. Thus, the Orion visitor strives with more and more intensity to disturb this vital energy as this group intensifies its dedication to service through enlightenment. Questioner. I have an extra little question that I want to throw in at this time. Is regressive hypnosis of an individual to reveal to them memories of previous incarnations a service or a disservice to them? I am Ra. We scan your query and find you shall apply the answer to your future. This causes us to be concerned with the first distortion. However, the query is also general and contains an opportunity for us to express a significant point. Therefore, we shall speak. There is an infinite range of possibility of service/disservice in the situation of time regression hypnosis, as you term this means of aiding memory. It has nothing to do with the hypnotist. It has only to do with the use which the entity so hypnotized makes of the information so gleaned. If the hypnotist desires to serve, and if such a service is performed only upon sincere request, the hypnotist is attempting to be of service. Questioner. In the last session, Ra stated that, quote, the path back from sixth density negative time-space revolves, firstly, about the higher self's reluctance to enter negative time-space, end quote. Could you explain the higher self's position with respect to positive and negative time-space, and why it is so reluctant to enter negative time-space that it is necessary for the mind-body-spirit complex to incarnate in negative space-time to find its path back? I am Ra. In brief, you have answered your own query. Please question further for more precise information. Editor's note. The quoted passage is in 69.11, where Ra actually spoke about the higher self's reluctance to enter negative space-time, rather than negative time-space, as Don has quoted it. The subsequent discussion may have become confused due to this misquote. Questioner. Why is the higher self reluctant to enter negative time-space? I am Ra. The higher self is reluctant to allow its mind-body-spirit complex to enter negative time-space for the same basic reason an entity of your societal complex would be reluctant to enter a prison. Questioner. What I'm trying to understand here is more about the higher self and its relationship with the mind-body-spirit complex. Does the higher self have a sixth-density mind-body-spirit complex that is a separate unit from the mind-body-spirit complex that is, in this case, displaced to negative time-space? I am Ra. This is correct. The higher self is the entity of mid-sixth density, which, turning back, offers this service to itself. Questioner. I think I have an erroneous concept of the mind-body-spirit complex, for instance, that I represent here in this density, and my higher self. The concept probably comes from my concept of space and time. I'm going to try to unscramble it. The way I see it right now is that I'm existing in two different locations, here and in mid-sixth density, simultaneously. Is this correct? I am Ra. You are existing at all levels simultaneously. It is specifically correct that your higher self is you in mid-sixth density, and, in your way of measuring what you know of as time, your higher self is yourself in your future. Questioner. Am I correct in assuming that all of the mind-body-spirit complexes that exist in the levels below mid-sixth density have a higher self in mid-sixth density? Is this correct? I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. Would an analogy for this situation be that the individual's higher self is manipulating to some extent the mind-body-spirit complex that is its analog, you might say, to move it through the lower densities for purposes of gaining experience, and then finally transferring that experience, or amalgamating it, you might say, in mid-sixth density with the higher self? I am Ra. This is incorrect. The higher self does not manipulate its past selves. It protects when possible, and guides when asked, but the force of free will is paramount. The seeming contradictions of determinism and free will melt when it is accepted that there is such a thing as true simultaneity. The higher self is the end result of all the development experienced by the mind-body-spirit complex to that point. Questioner. Then what we are looking at is a long path of experience through the densities up to mid-sixth density, which is a function totally of free will and results in the awareness of the higher self in mid-sixth density. But since time is illusory and there is a, shall I say, unification of time and space, or an eradication of what we think of as time, then all of this experience that results in the higher self, the cause of evolution through the densities, is existing while the evolution takes place, since it's all simultaneous. Is this correct? I am Ra. We refrain from speaking of correctness due to our understanding of the immense difficulty of absorbing the concepts of metaphysical existence. In time-space, which is precisely as much of yourself as is space-time, all times are simultaneous, just as in your geography, your cities and villages are all functioning, bustling, and alive with entities going about their business at once. So it is in time-space with the self. Questioner. The higher self existing in mid-sixth density seems to be at the point where the negative and positive paths of experience merge into one. Is there a reason for this? I am Ra. We have covered this material previously. Questioner. Oh, yes. Sorry about that. It slipped my mind. Now, if a positive entity is displaced to negative time-space, I understand that the higher self is reluctant to enter the negative time-space. And for some reason, This makes it necessary for the mind-body-spirit complex to incarnate in negative space-time. Why is it necessary for this incarnation to be in negative space-time? I am Ra. Firstly, let us remove the concept of reluctance from the equation, and then, secondly, address your query more to the point. Each time-space is an analog of a particular sort or vibration of space-time. When a negative time-space is entered by an entity, the next experience will be that of the appropriate space-time. This is normally done by the form-making body of a mind-body-spirit complex, which places the entity in the proper time-space for incarnation. Questioner: I think that to try and clear up this point, I'm going to ask a few questions that are related that will possibly enable me to understand this better, because I am really confused about this, and I think it is a very important point in understanding the creation and the creator in general, you might say. If a wanderer of fourth, fifth, or sixth density dies from this third density state in which we presently find ourselves, does he then find himself in third density time-space after death? I am Ra. This will depend upon the plan, which has been approved by the Council of Nine. Some wanderers offer themselves for but one incarnation, while others offer themselves for varying lengths of your time, up to and including the last 2 cycles of 25,000 years. If the agreed-upon mission is complete, the wanderer's mind-body-spirit complex will go to the home vibration. Questioner: have there been any wanderers on this planet for the past 50,000 years now? I am Ra. There have been a few. There have been many more which chose to join this last cycle of 25,000 years, and many, many more which have come for harvest. Questioner: now, here is the point of my confusion. If, after physical death, a wanderer would return to his home planet, shall I say, why cannot the same entity be extracted from negative time-space to the home planet rather than incarnating in negative space-time? I am Ra. As we stated, the position in negative time-space, of which we previously were speaking, is that position which is pre-incarnative. After the death of the physical complex in yellow ray activation, the mind-body-spirit complex moves to a far different portion of time-space in which the indigo body will allow much healing and review to take place before any movement is made towards another incarnative experience. I perceive a basic miscalculation upon your part in that time-space is no more homogeneous than space-time. It is as complex and complete a system of illusions, dances, and patterns as is space-time, and has as structured a system of what you may call natural laws. Questioner: I'll ask this question to inform me a little bit about what you just stated. When you came to this planet in craft 18,000 and 11,000 years ago, these craft have been called, I believe, Bell craft, and were photographed by George Adamski. If I am correct, these craft looked somewhat like a bell. They had portholes around the upper portions, and they had 3 hemispheres at 120 degrees apart underneath. Is this correct? I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner: were these constructed in time-space or space-time? I am Ra. We ask your persistent patience, for our answer must be complex. A construct of thought was formed in time-space. This portion of time-space is that which approaches the speed of light. In time-space, at this approach, the conditions are such that time becomes infinite and mass ceases, so that one which is able to skim the, shall we say, boundary strength of this time-space is able to become placed where it will. When we were where we wished to be, we then clothed the construct of light with that which would appear as the crystal bell. This was formed through the boundary into space-time. Thus there were 2 constructs, the time-space or immaterial construct, and the space-time or materialized construct. Questioner: now, was there a reason for the particular shape you chose? In particular, a reason for the 3 hemispheres on the bottom? I am Ra. It seemed an aesthetically pleasing form, and one well suited to those limited uses which we must needs make of your space-time motivating requirements. Questioner: was there a principle of motivation contained within the 3 hemispheres on the bottom, or were they just aesthetic, or were they landing gear? I am Ra. These were aesthetic and part of a system of propulsion. these hemispheres were not landing gear. Questioner. I am sorry to ask such stupid questions, but I am trying to determine something about space-time, time-space, and, you might say, this very difficult area of the mechanism of evolution. I think it is central to the understanding of our evolution. However, I am not sure of this, and I may be wasting my time. Could Ra comment on whether I am wasting my time in this particular investigation, or whether it would be fruitful? I am Ra. Since the concepts of space-time, or physics, and time-space, or metaphysics, are mechanical, they are not central to the spiritual evolution of the mind-body-spirit complex. The study of love and light is far more productive in its motion towards unity in those entities pondering such concepts. However, this material is, shall we say, of some small interest and is harmless. Questioner. I was asking these questions primarily to understand, or to build a base for an attempt to get a little bit of enlightenment on the way that time-space and space-time are related to the evolution of the mind-body-spirit complex, so that I could better understand the techniques, you might say, of that evolution. For instance, you stated that, quote, the potential difference may be released and polarities changed after an entity has learned, taught the lessons of love of self, end quote. If the entity is a positive entity that has found itself in negative time-space, and then had to incarnate in negative space-time. And what I was trying to do was build a base for attempting to understand, or at least get a slight understanding of, what you meant by this statement, that potential difference may be released and polarities changed after the above step. I am very interested in knowing, if placed in the negative time-space, why it is necessary to incarnate in negative space-time and learn, teach, love of self, and develop, I guess, a sixth density level of polarity before you can release that potential difference. I was trying to build a little foothold or platform from which to make that more apparent. Could you speak on that subject, please? I am Ra. This will be the last full query of this working. The entity which incarnates into negative space-time will not find it possible to maintain any significant positive polarity, as negativity, when pure, is a type of gravity well, shall we say, pulling all into it. Thus the entity, while remembering its learned and preferred polarity, must needs make use of the catalyst given and recapitulate the lessons of service to self in order to build up enough polarity in order to cause the potential to occur for reversal. There is much in this line of questioning which is somewhat muddled. May we, at this point, allow the questioner to rephrase the question or to turn the direction of query more towards that which is the heart of its concern? Questioner. I will, at the next session then, attempt to turn more toward the heart. I was attempting in this session to get at a point that I thought was central to the evolution of spirit, but I seem to have gone awry. I'm sorry for that. It is sometimes very, very difficult for me to question wisely in these areas. I would just ask if there's anything that we can do to benefit the contact or to make the instrument more comfortable. I am Ra. You are most conscientious, and the alignments are especially good. We thank you, my friends, and have been glad to speak with you. We are attempting to be of the greatest aid to you by taking care not to deplete this instrument. Thus, although a reserve remains, we will attempt from this working onward to keep this reserve, for this instrument has arranged its subconscious to accept this configuration. I am Ra. You are all doing well, my friends. We leave you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing and glorying in the power and in the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai, the one infinite Creator. Adonai.
Nice.
Feel free to dive in. Questions?
I found it interesting how he said that time-space is just as complicated as space-time.
Ed?
Susanna?
I agree.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like that is just an idea in itself. It's got to be kind of mad. Like everything we think about in physics terms all comes down to kind of time, really, doesn't it? When you think about it, like It's a progression of matter. It's, you know, the Big Bang onwards. Yeah. When you think about time, space, how would physics work without that progression of time? I mean, just like, so when he said that it's just as complex and there's just as many things in play, like it has its own laws of physics. Like how does that work? It's just kind of mind blowing.
And he had mentioned how approaching the speed of light in time space, where it becomes massless and time becomes more infinite.
Yeah. So yeah, he said, yeah, time becomes infinite, and then.
But I found it curious though that whether you're in space time or time space, approaching the speed of light is of key in both of those. So light is the true answer in a way to that question, because it is the barrier, so to speak, for both of us that you can't surpass without tremendous effort.
It seems like it's the physical and metaphysical universal constant.
Well,
is light.
I'm not sure about that. It's like a limit. But my understanding is that basically, like, our planet, they call it the inner planes. So like when a person dies, they go to the inner planes. I guess the ancient people call it the underworld. So and based on my studies of like Michael Newton and stuff, like near death experiences, people like see a light, or like when they die, they go up into the sky where they hit the ionosphere, and then they feel like they're going down a tunnel until like they hit like a big white light, which is, from my understanding, what's going on is they're basically, they hit the ionosphere and then they follow it along until they get to one of the magnetic North Pole or the South Pole or whatever, and then they go inside the Earth, and then there's like the soul world for our planet is inside the planet. And so I think that what happened with that entity pulling someone into negative time space is that they managed to kind of like teleport their soul to a negatively polarized planet. And so the soul world was a negative soul world. But I want to give Susanna a chance to say something because she's got her hand up.
I'm sorry. Yes, I don't want to break the train of thought because I wanted to touch something else. But just as to let other people continue talking about this subject, I just want to say that I keep saying every day that there's so much more that we might never really fully understand because we still have the limitation of our 3D brain, mind, comprehension, and perception. We can push it and push it and push it, and that's where I'm going to maybe tie here. It's this wanting to seek, yes? And where the very first subject, where the seeking of Carla got her to have attacks. Mm-hmm. And we are here, 4 people that we are doing regular work together, and we are intensely seeking. And it's been since this summer that we've experienced so many things in that sense, where if it's not health-wise, it's situations, and it's something that we're not surprised anymore. So I don't want to straight away go into that. I want to let others carry on with this subject that's being talked. I can always come back to the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Susanna.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that ties in really well there, Susanna, because I think about this type of thing a lot when it comes down to unified physics and the things that I'm studying. It's like, okay, well, we're discovering new parts of reality, and the issue that we're dealing with is that most people want us to prove that something exists. And then you get into the fascinating conversation of what somebody justifies as reality or what somebody thinks as proof or evidence that something exists or that something is real. So what sort of tests or what sort of meters, readers, processes and things can you invent to detect these new parts of reality? Because this is where I love mixing the types of worlds and interest groups that we get into, because what they're talking about in science is what we're talking about here. When they say that they're going into what they refer to as dark matter, which is a whole different subject on its own, that's what they're talking about, is time space. This other part of reality that makes up a large chunk of this thing that they haven't been able to measure, but they can't measure it because they're using the wrong sort of tools. So this really came to me in how obvious and how easy to understand this is, came to me when to point this out in easy to understand form. It's like you use rulers to measure centimeters and inches. You use a laser detector to measure light. You know, you use audible equipment to measure sound. So you're not going to use something to detect physical matter to prove that, say, gravity exists, because gravity is a force. And so something that detects physical matter is not going to detect gravity. So in order to detect gravity, then you've got to invent something that you can sort of measure gravity over its effect. So what I'm getting to is that in order to measure these things and measure the physics of this other world, getting to what Ed was talking about as well, is we've got to find ways to measure these effects of these phenomena. And that's where a lot of the regular science circles have a lot of issue, because that's where reproducing the experiment gets really difficult, especially when you're talking about forces. I mean, quantum mechanics puts a stick in the works when it says that all things work out differently every time you do it. So no test can be done exactly the same, but we still try to eliminate and understand the circumstances best we can based around the effects that we can reproduce on a repetitive basis. So think synchronicities. You know, how often do you do something in your life that you change something in your mind, or you go through some sort of emotional turmoil that turns out to be something that is like a new stage for you in your personal evolution path or your personal life? And at that point, you then look around, you go, hang on a minute, there's a whole lot of good luck happening right now. You know, good luck is synchronicity. Synchronicity is a word defined by Carl Jung, psychologist, that suggests cause and effect across other planes than just the physical. So you might be thinking something which is then pushing a domino over here, which is changing somebody's decision to go over this way because of their mood that you've put them in, just by making them happy. You know, and all of these other weird domino effects like this. So how do we develop the physics? What would the physics look like? Think in terms of the effects. Think in terms of the effects that we can make. Love, bringing circles like this together and the impact that we can have on other people. I don't know if anyone's involved in any, I mean, I think most people are involved in meditation groups of one kind or another. But those ones that are directed towards healing are really fascinating, because you've got an objective, you know, that you can quantify these things with, kind of in a way, but without trying to make it about the objective, of course, because it's not a destination fever kind of scenario. It's the path is the reason as well as the result at the same time. You know? Does that make sense? Any ideas on that and how we could measure these types of things with this knowledge?
Well, synchronicities. Like synchronicity, like what you're talking about, the whole kind of young, you know, like that. Like I kind of think of that going back a bit further. Don't get me wrong, he's the one that kind of coined the term. But if you look at, like, I think it's there's trying to remember where I heard it from, but the whole idea that coincidence in itself is kind of the universe's way of showing you your path, of kind of like, you know, making things happen in your life kind of thing. And then when you look at magic as well, like, you know, when you perform a spell, like the pot of gold just doesn't like fall in front of you or whatever. The idea is that, you know, you do it and then the synchronicities are the things that brings it to you. So yeah, you could argue something simple like tarot cards or something like that can kind of give you access to that kind of metaphysical kind of to then run tests and kind of like find these things out for yourself.
Trevor, are you talking about so you want a way to measure forces or things that normally don't get measured? So are you asking for a way to do that, or you know, I mean, how would you measure something like that?
So I shared in the chat, there's a magnetocardiography, which they used in Germany to detect your heart resonance field.
Oh.
So I think that could be kind of relevant.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard of that. That's because there was a few pieces of tech that came out like that. Have you heard of the God hat? Have you heard of that?
Well, I've heard
I
of that.
have one, like the Shanti or whatever, but it's a God helmet. Yeah, it does all the little.
Yeah, basically it's just got magnets. It does it like it's like a you know, the direct stimulant, like the one they do with electrodes, but they just use it with magnets. And apparently just focusing an intense magnetic field in the front of the area of the brain causes profound spiritual experiences just on its own.
I wonder how that works, if the magnet
that's getting it,
bring it forward, or
I just also want to bring one other point, is that the Confederation of Planets in 1987, August 5th, he says, "It may be obvious by now that there is no proof. We are sorry for the disappointment of those who wish proof, but we are heart and soul, as this instrument would say, of the belief that any sort of objective proof of our presence or the proof of our statements is an infringement upon free will of those who at this time in your density are making their choice to create as co-creators with the Father or to destroy as co-creators with the darker energy." So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what do
That
they
makes
mean by
sense why
proof?
we haven't just got like spaceships flying around, you know.
Well,
We've
yeah,
got to work these
exactly.
things out ourselves.
I understand. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I
The basic
understand.
idea.
You go first.
Basic idea is that there's no proof because you don't want to infringe on other people's free will to believe whatever they want to believe. Now you, Amanda.
Okay, so I get that statement. I get what they want to do, but when they say disclosure is coming, are we, disclosure to me is, yes, stand in front, ships come down, do their thing. People are either frightful or they're not. I mean, you have your undecided, but frightful or not. So, are they going to show themselves, or are they not? Or are we doing this for how many thousands more years? And, that's what people ask. I'm sure that's what people ask. I ask it.
I think that really ties in with what Andrea was saying, that if spiritually or physically, if they turn up and just start telling us stuff, giving us technology, telling us all the spiritual answers to everything, then our own progress and our own seeking and our own finding that stuff will be taken out of our hands.
Yeah.
We won't be finding these things and like hunting and seeking ourselves. We'll just follow what they tell us to do, which is like completely against, because that's what Ra did in the first place. They came down and tried to give it to us, and then we didn't know what to do with it. So
So they said disclosure is coming. What does that mean?
No, that's what I wanted to. They didn't say that. Amanda's putting other things in there, but Amanda, from your perspective, and I'm talking just to you, no one's disclosure's been happening. It's not.
No. I'm talking. I'm not talking.
Yeah, but this-
disclosure like in little increments. I'm
But they
talking,
did not say that though. That disclosure you're talking, right? Is that what I'm grasping? Like it's okay. I'm getting all. Rod did not say that disclosure's coming, did they?
no.
they
I'm
did
not
not.
talking
They did
about
not.
Exactly.
Rod.
That was my point.
Maybe
I'm
David
talking
Wilcock.
He was talking about something else and kind of brought it
Yeah,
in.
this,
I
I
didn't
think,
want- I
yeah,
don't
we
want to be
kind of got
confused.
off. We kind of got off on, yeah, disclosure has nothing to do with the raw content. I'm talking about when he said disclosure to me is, yeah, we're getting little increments here and there, people are seeing whatever. I'm talking about, yep, we're here. The government says they're here. We're not going to lie to you anymore. This is what's going on. For me, that's total disclosure. I mean, that would be total disclosure.
In order for that to happen, basically, that would either be service to self extraterrestrials, or the only way it could possibly be service to others extraterrestrials is if we all kind of polarized service to others all together, and then nobody had a problem with extraterrestrials appearing.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're coming
so it's
up on
very
that.
low probability. Go ahead.
I think we're coming up on that. Seems like there's more people accepting of a lot of things, especially since the internet, video chat, we're all able to share ideas and really connect.
Because people are experiencing it on a separate, individual type of basis, not on this whole grand scheme of it, like how he was saying, I just see that.
Right.
Yeah.
So
for those, sorry,
No,
for those people who are ready for it, that they experience it. Go ahead.
So getting to the rod, so the wanderer that dies in third density goes back to their original so they go back to sixth density.
No, I'm
like, okay, so why would a positive wanderer dies, why would that being go to a negative polarity area?
I think that was talking about the thing with Carla, where she where she was worried that they were going to try to take her to a negative polarized time space.
Yeah.
Oh, like when she was.
That's what they were worried about with the attacks, weren't they?
Okay, that was the attacks, but can the wanderer that's died, would they go to, obviously the wanderer, say the positive polarity, so they would go to a positive polarity sixth density again?
They would go back to where they came from if they finished their agreement that they previously made on how many incarnations and so on and so forth they were going to do here.
Okay, right. So how did they get to the negative? Why would they get to that negative?
That's what he's trying to say. Okay, you know how they kind of jump around everywhere and stuff? So they weren't talking about that same thing at that time. They were referencing, I'm assuming when she goes into channeling, how we talked about 2 weeks ago, and the possibility of being. So don't worry about that. It's not.
Okay, talking about the sixth density, person that's trying to help us, our sixth density self, the highest self that we're trying to connect up to, and all the rest of it. There was one bit where Ra said that that's a service that they provide, to us, and in my head I was like, if the sixth density person is helping us, surely that's service to self.
Yep.
So if the sixth density,
that sounds
like why would they help us? Because surely that would be interfering with free will, I suppose, unless we ask for it.
We have to ask for it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we ask them for their help, then they're allowed to help, right?
Have you figured out
exactly.
who your sixth density self is yet?
Who, me?
Me?
Everybody.
I'm right here.
No, I haven't figured it out yet.
No?
No, not
Ra,
yet.
I mean, Koi drops a massive hint in one of the channelings. And I once you kind of pick up on the idea of what they're saying, I think that it becomes really obvious in a lot of what they're saying. But well, if you're meant to treat the other as if there is no other, and if Ra is a sixth density body who is coming here to help us, and there is no Ra because Ra is in fact us, because we're all one.
All one.
And then our sixth density body would be
Right here, like I said.
Mhm.
Oh, I nailed it. Sorry, I got excited there.
we're all part of the same, you know.
Mhm.
Same neck of the woods. We're all the same energy force in this what we call quadrant of the logos, and that logos is what we define as our sun, and then the next one up from that would be the center of the galaxy. So we are all parts of that sun, hence the sun god concept.
Okay, so at sixth density, you know, you're one step away from the infinite intelligence. You know, you're right up there.
Love it.
I think that like, you know, Venus said, what is it? In Voices of Venus, he puts it beautifully. Like you're inches away from the god's head, the day spring or whatever it is. Yeah. So that's right. You know, you go any further, you know, then you're at seventh density. You lose yourself and everything into just the infinite intelligence of everything. So yeah, and also at sixth density, surely you're like a social memory complex. You're not, or a social spirit complex, right? So you are essentially made of billions of entities like us, right? So does the highest self, you know, filter down to billions of separate entities? Is there only one higher self that we're all part of?
No. This is, I think, well, I don't know, that there's, I think you will be very surprised if you go on that track. Basically, my understanding anyways is that there's many different sixth density entities, and even Ra is a composition of about like 6 million people or something. Latwi is like 18 million people, and so as a social memory complex, they're just kind of like a group of buddies, but they all still have individual separate consciousnesses. And when they talk about seventh density, that's not merging with one infinite creator. That's what they call it, the density of foreverness, because you are experiencing like all time as one, like future and parallel lives. And they don't cover this in like eighth density and stuff. They say that's the guardians. So there's actually multiple eighth density entities that sit on, like, say, the Council of Elders on Saturn. And then also eighth density entities are the entities that, like, after that do your graduation test. So after you die, and then there's a light, and that light is what you're going towards, then that's actually an eighth density entity that is producing that light. And then based on how close you get to that entity is whether or not you've passed to you know, from third to fourth density. So these are still individual entities. And in the LL archives, they don't mention beyond that, but there's many other sources like the Palladians and stuff. They say that basically eighth density, you become like a locality, or you can become like the hive mind for say a group of animals, because animals are part of a hive mind, but who's in control of that hive mind? It's an eighth density entity. And then at ninth density, you're a planet, like Gaia. And then at 10th density, you're like a star, like our sun. And 11th density, you're a galaxy. And then at 12th density, you're a universe. And then at like 13th density, you're like a meta universe or something like that. So
where does it go back to? What density reaches oneness?
Any density can reach oneness, because you can simply at any density in the Michael Newton's work, they say that, say for instance, like serial killers or like people that basically are unable to reintegrate with the soul world, sometimes they just kind of let them go back to one of the soul generating clusters, which is like a high density soul or whatever. And so their soul remerges with, like, it's like being thrown into the sun, but on a spiritual level. And then like whatever identity they had is just like torn to bits and then reconfigured with what's in that sun. And then that next time there's a calling for souls, there will be a solar flare, which is a combination of whatever souls were kind of digested there earlier.
So Hitler, he's there?
Hitler is in healing. He wasn't one of the super bad.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's in healing.
But yeah, speaking of the healing thing, because Ra said that, you're once the yellow ray's gone, you go to the indigo ray for healing. Yeah. So what was I going to say? So is that the same as like, the higher self obviously being that higher density? Is that the same as like in the Voices of Venus thing, where they're talking about how after like a really tragic thing, like a bomb going off or like in war and stuff, it takes a really long time for the soul to readjust to being dead? So is that, do you reckon that's the same thing that what Ra's talking about with the indigo, the indigo body healing, the yellow ray after you've died, kind of thing?
I'm not sure about the. Go ahead, Trevor.
I feel like I should add, just for the record, because we're recording, this is going to go up live as well, for the integrity of the statement that I made earlier, which was a very big statement that we're all Ra. What I'm also addressing is the confusion in language that we often use as well. So Ra in the Ra material, of course, is Ra, that they channel a collective from Venus or of Venus. But Ra also is an energy of what we call the sun. And it's also in at least one culture that I'm aware of referred to as the galactic center of the sun there as well. So you've got multiple different Ra's on the multiple different scales that then fractal out in their infinite collection, and all parts of the infinity are connected like that. So it's a cheap statement for me to say that we're all collectively Ra at the same time. Even if we don't have a direct thread line to that, we are directly connected to him in other ways, or it, or whatever you want to make that as. So I just wanted to clear that up for the record. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, you're right, Trevor, that we are all one, and like Ra can be a member of our higher self, communicating with us telepathically or to our higher self or whatnot. But and some of us, who knows, may be a Ra wanderers. It's possible. I'm pretty sure I'm not, but who knows? And in terms of answering Trevor, so what I've read in multiple sources is that after those, like Ra even mentions that they, as well as other souls, went to help those people who were hit by Hiroshima, and then they helped them with this process. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how the sixth density indigo fits into that.
Well, that's basically the same thing that what's his name? Is it Malvac, the guy from Voices of Venus, that he talks about, that when there's a big tragedy, when there's lots of people, when bombs go off and that, they find the souls of these people that are literally just torn to shreds. They're like puddles, and they have to scoop them up and put them in these little chambers to kind of get the soul itself to kind of reform back to to consciousness, essentially. And I just didn't know whether that's the same thing. Pardon?
They're really good at describing it in that book. They even have to clarify and say to the reader. I don't want it to make it sound like that's all that we do here on Venus is heal people, because that's what they say a lot, isn't it, in the book?
Well, the thing I really like is the classrooms. I really like the classrooms. You just have to project and just wake up there and learn some stuff.
Yes, well, and I think a lot of us are taking part in that sort of thing on a regular basis, especially when we're not remembering. I don't think that we kind of go off or turn off at all at any point. We just don't remember things. But yeah, what you're getting at is a very interesting point, which is kind of like the scattering of the individual so much that they can't even put themselves together from foundational universal memory, let alone their own, after the trauma of atomic or nuclear impact. So there are definitely things out there that have a huge impact like that. Hitler, somebody brought up in chat, is a good example of that. They don't have to be hit by a nuclear bomb. They can just be so distorted in their belief system and their traumas that they go through a similar sort of separation process and have trouble putting themselves back together, to have to be nursed back to whole again, which I find appropriate. When you listen to the ones from Voice of Venus, and is a couple of channelings from Quo and others, I'm pretty sure, where they talk about some instances where they describe the healing that they go through in certain instances, like these ones that I'm describing here, and they're very wrap the individual up in the womb of the universe and keep them in a little egg off to the side while they kind of go through their healing, like a cocoon. Yeah, fits really well.
Yeah, and what you guys described really reminds me of the soul world. So if you guys haven't already, I would really recommend reading Michael Newton, Destiny of Souls and Journey of Souls. And Dolores Cannon also has books, and they describe at least two different processes. So for younger souls, after they die, even after a regular life, younger souls often opt to undergo a spiritual shower, where they are showered with this kind of loving energy, and it kind of washes off the grimy stuff that happened to them in their life. Whereas a lot of more advanced souls, they don't like the interference of all this new energy, because they have accumulated themselves for a long time, and so they sometimes go into these they're kind of like a monastic silent retreat, and it can be for years, where they're just silent and then like recuperating within themselves until they're ready to start communicating with others.
So I suppose once again that's kind of how Ra describes sixth density, that that you spend a large chunk of that in kind of essentially reviewing from a place of compassion and wisdom all of the different acts of all the different incarnations, right? Like, I can't remember where he speaks about that, but you know what I'm talking about?
I think you might be talking about seventh density or fifth density negative. Fifth density negative is a solitary place.
That's something that you have to do in sixth density in order to progress. Anyway, but the point is, if sixth density is indigo, yeah, then is that same process?
I don't know.
It's about balancing love and wisdom. That's the main lesson of sixth density.
Yeah. But that's what he's saying. You review everything that you've been through, and understand the compassion and the karmic kind of. Hi, Susanna.
Hi, Susanna. Love you.
Bye, Susanna. Yeah.
TJ's hand.
Yeah. So yeah, you'd have to find a quote, and then we'd be able to better address your point there, Ed.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm just trying to. Okay, so the other thing I did want to speak about that was in this, where he was talking about the light vehicles, the bell-shaped vehicle things, because there's actually a lot of kind of like history of those being seen. Like, has anyone seen the things from like ancient India, like literally like 1000 BC or something? They're talking about these bell-shaped things with people sitting in them, flying around. The way that Ra describes them, once again, I think, like, hate to go on about it, but yeah, let's do that. But he describes it like a thought form again. But he, like, the whole thing about what he's talking about, like, you create it in time space, and then you get it to the speed of light, so that time's infinite, but matter's negligible, and then you can essentially that place where it goes inside, I suppose, the matrix of what space is without time.
Mhm.
And then basically you just build the kind of thought form around yourself out of light and then send it there. And once again, it all sounds very much like a light body, right? So I suppose making it in the physical, and then why are they going to have all like aesthetics and propulsion devices and all this other stuff attached? You think like if they just built it out of like thought magic, why all the bells and whistles? I don't know. Anyone else got any thoughts on that? Because
Maybe
I
for
want to
the
know how to make
benefit
one.
of the people
Third
that are
destiny.
doing it and seeing it. I mean, we
When it-
relate to bells and whistles.
When it entered
Yeah, but
into
I can think
third
of something way better than
density,
that. Why not like a huge flying castle or something like with real impact?
when it entered into third density, it had to take form so it could maneuver, right? So it needed
Yeah,
some bells and whistles, I suppose, propulsion, whatever, however it
Yeah,
worked.
I mean, it seems like that the bell-shaped thing was kind of necessary for the crafts themselves, but it did just seem to come down to kind of like, this is how we want them to look. We want them to look pretty, like a little bell with balls on the bottom. It's going to look cute.
Now where is that? India, or I don't know where they have the temples, but they have the bell-shaped things on top of the temples. What are they called? I forget. What are they called? Come on, you guys, smart guys here.
Copula?
No, stupa. Is it stupas?
That's familiar to me for something like that.
Yeah, stupa.
Yeah,
Well,
they
those are like
have-
pyramid shaped.
But aren't they the on top of the temples? They have those bell-shaped stone.
Stupa is also bell-shaped. It says it is a dome or bell-shaped structure used as monument. So
Yeah, and they're on top of
Okay,
these
yeah.
temples. So, and they were shaped just like that. So I'm wondering if that's what they were seeing and they reproduced it. Buddhism, I think, they have them on their temples, I think.
In architecture and building, just in general shape and physical reality, it has an impact on everything around it, even just the shape and color of things, in particular in buildings and stuff. You're talking about didacticism, which is just processing physical form to have an intended intent to impact usually emotional moods. Think churches or ancient temples. Bells are as an icon of what it is in its form, because bells are a huge process of coming into harmony. I can't remember the exact way that used to make them before modern technology, but it used to be a huge art form making bells, and there was a lot of money in it a long time ago because of the science behind it. But the bell itself maps out to a shape that is very commonly referred to the Yukonawa potential, which just means what we call the bell curve.
Bell-shaped curve.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like we've got in our society and all of the scales in all the different areas of life and society and economy. Everything is right up on this bell-shaped curve right now. And that's how we know that all of this is fully legit, right? And not just story time. But that's kind of getting into the measurements of the reality that we live in that aren't physical, that aren't economic.
Dude, can I just say right here, earlier on, you were talking about, using science to prove things. Yeah, those bell-shaped curves that are used in science to actually group statistical data. If you look on that, you'll notice that line never ever reaches zero. The reason it never reaches zero because science can't prove reality. So there always has to be some statistical buffer in between that bell-shaped curve and ever getting to zero, which would mean 100% we know for a fact that every single part of this is true, which they can't possibly know. Science doesn't know that.
I just wanted to say that like if you listen to the disclosure from the extraterrestrial recreation crafts by the U.S. military, they always talk about how most of the new top secret spacecraft or whatever craft they use, they have balls. Sometimes 3 balls, and these balls are anti-gravity devices, and they're always spherical. And so I think that, if you have a bell-shaped craft with 3 balls at the bottom, then the bell, really, that's where the people are. They can stand inside the bell.
Yeah, it's crazy. When you're getting into the speed of light and what Ed was talking about, when you get all the way down both ends of the potential. Okay, so it's not just when the potential goes up or when it comes from, like, it's got to start somewhere. So this is getting into the type of stuff that we're talking about in today's session, where they talk about approaching the speed of light and it becoming massless. All that means is that the whole thing then flips and becomes what we call time space, where we no longer have mass because we're defining things through the energetic spectrum of the other rather than the prior. And the prior, of course, is where we are right now, which is space. And so you jump to the other, you pop out the other side, and you're no longer moving the speed of light, because if you are, you're everywhere all at once, kind of in a way, because all protons are synchronized, and there's this weird kind of is but isn't thing going on here. I can't define it quite well as I can in the rest of this, but at that point in time, there is no more movement because space no longer exists. So that's where time now exists, because that's your movement field. Does that make sense?
Totally. Like this also kind of ties in with what he was saying about how, all of our different incarnations exist at the same time. They're all happening together, like before, about how like a photon doesn't experience time because of the fact that because it's moving so much quicker than light, because it's moving at the speed of light, relativity, it doesn't actually perceive time. So if the entire universe, if time is this illusion and everything's happening all at once, then does that mean that the actual kind of time part of the universe literally just happened in like a blink, like a blip, and all of it's done? Because all of it happens simultaneously, like one thing.
I think it's easier to understand it as kind of if you just imagine there's multiple dimensions. So like one dimension is like a straight line, and 2 dimensions it's another, and the 3 dimensions. And so you're just adding an extra dimension, and it's an infinite dimension, and then you have multiple dimensions of time. And so when you're in space-time, you're in 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. And when you're in time-space, it's the other way around. You're in, say, 3 dimensions of time and 1 dimension of space.
That explains it all. Now I get it.
Yeah.
I'm like thinking, what the hell are they talking about? Space, time, space. And I'm going, okay, well, I'm just going to go with it. Now you explained it to the... Got it.
That's a great way of thinking about
it.
Unasked questions don't get answered, Amanda.
Well, I just go, okay, I'll figure it out sooner or later.
Andre, you have a question also in the chat. TJ wanted to know what the reference is for the information that you gave about higher densities, higher than 8 that you were speaking about.
References for the information of the... I don't have any that I can really cite that explain it very well, other than like where I just explained it here in this video. But there was the Palladian thing I came across many years ago, and they were talking about having 12 chakras. And
the Voyagers say the same thing. The Voyagers,
and
stuff that
So they were saying that a lot of people hold their higher chakras, like their 8th to 12th chakras, like right next to their body. So it's as if their body is all that there is. But your 8th chakra can actually, it's for remote viewing, and you can move anywhere in your locality. And then your 9th chakra, you can remote view anything on your planet. And your 10th chakra, anything in your solar system, and your 11th chakra, anything in your galaxy, and the 12th chakra, anything in the universe. And I just it took a logical derivation of that with progression of densities, as well as some other people who had the similar ideas, and my own personal meditations and reflections and spiritual insights for that. But I wanted to read the section that we were just talking about, is when we were, this is session 70, question 18 answer. When we were where we wish to be, we then clothed the construct of light with that which would appear as the crystal bell. This was formed. Like that whole thing where they were talking about infinity, that was just them moving to where they wanted to be. And then this was formed through the boundary into space-time. So from time-space, they moved through some kind of boundary, like a portal, into space-time. And thus there were two constructs, the time-space or immaterial construct, and the space-time or materialized construct. So when they were in time space, they made up this immaterial craft, and then they opened up a portal, and then they zoomed through it. And then when it went through the portal, it materialized as space-time. And I've also read multiple accounts saying that Earth is very heavy, has a very dense illusion, and a lot of extraterrestrials, when they get to Earth, when they pass into our atmosphere, they have to manifest in our heavy, dense way, and sometimes their crafts just don't work because it's so dense, and that's why there's so many UFO crashes.
So then what about just using their light vehicles and not an actual physical craft?
Surely then that would be the same as us astral projecting. Yeah, so it'd be very hard, difficult to physically manifest.
It says it in the Ra contact and many others. The preferred method of contact is via thought form. And thought form doesn't just mean in your mind, it can also mean visually in front of you, but not able to touch. Thought is the world that we live in.
Which makes sense. You know how many people...
Trevor.
That's all Freeze, right? Go ahead, Ed.
Okay, I was just going to say, Trevor, did you read the paper that I put up the other week about making structures using light?
It's in the group.
Probably not, but it's something I think about on the regular.
It's in the group, and I added it.
Me too. Making thought forms is like one of the major things that I've kind of done with my whole magical endeavors. So it's something I've always really, because it seems so integral to kind of the whole Ra thing. So when he's talking about, they created basically the thought form in the time space, and then they pushed that through into space time, giving it actual physical manifestation. Whereas we kind of make thought forms here, and we give them physical manifestation in the astral.
Absolutely. I don't think so much it's going to impact really once you get the hang of it. But to start with, I think that moving quadrillions amounts of atoms in coordination with each other, like a symphony, is going to be conceptually and unconsciously harder for a human being who's used to trial and error and the trials and tribulations in life and the cause and effect thing. So I've been looking at the story of Genesis in the Bible as a direct instruction kit for how to begin the process of becoming a God yourself internally here. You have inside of yourself a mind, and inside of that mind, you've got conceptual infinity. Now, this can't be nothing. This has to be an infinity of something. So it's an energy of something. So you've got an infinity of energy that you could play with and roll around into clouds of dust and condense into harder and harder forms until finally one part of internally in your mind goes and you condense your first particle of internal matter, what we would call matter. So at that point, do I reckon that it would be a short cry from one atom to heaps? Probably not. But to start with, I think that it might be a good idea to slow down. I regularly try to, whenever I'm doing Reiki and other things like this with energy in my hands, think about the energetic process required, and you can do it relatively cheaply in terms of energy cost, for making water out of hydrogen and oxygen particles, which are just present in our ambient field around us. So if you want to try, you can try to condense energy into a form around you that just so happens to gravitate these three particles together, which would then create, if you got it enough, a tiny potential droplet of water or something. You know, there's many ways that you could look at doing this, and these are fantastic examples. Like you're talking, and like, why wouldn't you do a castle in the sky? Man, have you seen the pyramid? That is a freaking castle. Whoa, that thing flying through the sky like that. The Giza pyramid was made in the same way. You know, why is it that it was made in such a way?
Apparently that was purely made with thought, right?
To make people think that it was made by hand. So, you know, same sort of thing with the ship. Why? Because that's the way they do things, you know, not to rub it in people's faces and go, haha, look at what we can do, because that's not what it's about, you know.
Because I mean, I've got like a servitor, because you know, my little kind of chaos magic roots, and you know, it's basically like my pet. It's you know, it's as real to me as, you know, or anything, but you know, it's intangible, like kind of what they described. You know, I built it in an intangible space, you know, but you know, like what you were saying, you know, like all we have to work with is the matter that we know, that's in this density, that's the energy, the matter that we've got, you know. But who's to say that we're not actually energy bodies at all of those different levels, and our thoughts make things at other levels, you know?
All of it too is unprovable that it's something in the first place. So we think of this as what we've got to deal with, and that it's physical, solid, what we call 3D matter. But we define it as matter using itself as a definition. That's like using words to explain what words mean. You know, sooner, at some point or another, you have to point to reality and say, no, this is what it means. That's a tree. You can't use just words to describe a tree. You have to use other things to describe what it is at the same time. So, you know, we're running around a lot in this process too, calling it 3D matter and thinking of it as separate, because these thoughts are null and void to begin with. They're not actual accurate descriptors of this thing that we call reality. So if we try to then take these things and then use them as measurement tools across the thing that we've got here, none of it's going to start making sense for very long. It will for a certain amount of time, because we can see the effects and we're making error corrections and this type of thing. And that's regular everyday life. But as you can see that in regular everyday life too, that most people's idea of life, that their idea of an extended universe or what is potentially possible in life, very quickly runs out of running space and becomes a very short sprint for most people in that real what's available out there world. So how do we then extend that, grow into it, bring these potentials out into reality? Is that we change along with that our definition of reality. And remember that reality is in fact energy. So what would it mean if I condensed energy in the form of the astral world, which we do on the regular? So when we project, you know, it's that scene in the Matrix where they project into the white room. Neon goes, hang on a minute, what? And Morpheus explains it's your memory. In the construct here, refining your form as you are. So we do that as we go to these other places. We just have a harder time doing it here in the physical reality, because we've got so many programs that are designed to force us into this idea that we can't do that here. But we can just as easily here as we can everybody else. Exactly, everywhere. Yeah.
It just takes slower to manifest. Like I know a lot of it depends on like how big what you're asking for is, and then it also depends on your karmic balance. But I don't want to get into a lengthy magical explanation at this point, but yeah, it works very similar to Trevor. What you were saying is that you think of something and then you say you want it, and then it appears usually within a few days. Like a simple thing would be like if you want a taco, and then maybe a half an hour or an hour later you
And the
get
woman's
taco
in the
delivery.
kitchen. She'll go make you one. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
Get upset.
Well, you can make yourself a taco, right? I mean, there's actually I think it's a good thing that it's slow, because like right now we're in like third or fourth density or whatever, and a lot of people aren't very experienced, and they might start thinking about like ungood things to manifest, and if those ungood things manifest, then that might be the end of their life. And so having this kind of delay gives us a measure of safety, in terms of that we could think things that we don't want without them just appearing out of nowhere, and then us having to deal with them. And then that gives us time to change our thought patterns and think about good things, and then allowing those good things to manifest.
Yeah. I would like to
I
add
fully agree, because
observation.
isn't that part of the major things about like being actually in fourth density? Like in Astral, and like there's another book, I can't remember what it's called. It's something a life in the afterlife or something like that. But it's just about how in fourth density, when you think about something, when you want something, you manifest it. You are able to coalesce those atoms into the solid thing you want. So getting used to that and being able to just manifest things there and then is why we have to go through this. Because in third density, if we just manifested everything we thought of, all these animal instincts, all these other things would just pop into existence, and it'd be a nightmare. So learning to have all of our thoughts come from a place of like unconditional love and service to other is important, because that means that whatever thought you're thinking is never going to manifest into something evil that's going to hurt somebody else.
Yep. And Robert, do you have something you want to say?
Yeah, I did want to add something on that. Ed, that article you presented about the toroidal structures being created with laser lights, and that's a donut shape. If you weren't familiar with toroidal, the key here is also the use of a laser. Laser light is unlike the light you have in your rooms right now, or even out in the sun where Cherie is. Because the light we're surrounded with here is incoherent. It's flying all over. It's not directed in any way. But laser light, each photon of the light is unified into one direction, like one will. It's a group mentality, so to speak. So they were able to create a shape using light that had focused will. And they also did another experiment just last week where this really high power laser was able to create a pathway in a hallway in the air that allowed other energy to flow through it for just a split second. But they're able to create pathways and objects now with high energy laser. And the key to that seems to be the coherence of the light, all of the particles acting together. It's like a societal memory complex, because each photon is individual, but they work together. And as Ra had said, one of the greatest tools we can develop in our growth is our willpower, being able to visualize things clearly and strongly and hold on to it over time. So as the group grows even more, and each one of us can do that, imagine that's where Ra and they were able to create these forms that could traverse through time and space, because they had that collective willpower. And we're
I completely agree, 100%. But that's kind of what like drew me to that article. The fact that you know the will and love, guiding how we ourselves can be the lasers. How we can organize matter and form. And like you said, I completely agree with that quote that Ra said, that that if you can hold one visualized thing, then it gives it tremendous power. I agree that that's the process that you'd use to create the thought form. And to me, that seems like the same process they're doing with the lasers.
Yes, it is. It is. It's a collective willpower of scientists that are working on this. But of course, there's the background energy entities, whatever, that are helping direct the scientists and their collective over or higher self, over souls, which they may not even be aware of. And we as a group, specifically us right here, these 14 individuals here right now that I can see, it'd be amazing if we even all agreed on a certain thought. Just imagine the power that would be. And like Ra has said, how a certain percentage of people were necessary for the whole scenario to just flip positive. We could make this planet just the most wonderful thing ever if a certain percentage would all just agree on that thought.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Benny's like, yeah, brother. Yeah.
Go you, dude. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the whole concept of behind global C5s and stuff like that, to try to be all on the same purpose or intent intent sounds like the right word. Yes. And then hope tip it.
Exactly. Yeah. We need intent, though. Intent is a good word for that.
Go on, Trevor. Trevor? No, I thought
he's muted.
Oh no, I thought he was raising his hand. Let's all stare at him. Okay.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah, I thought you had. I thought you raised your hand, so I was saying Trevor, and then you're like, I'm like, everybody just stare at him.
No, I had a phone call, and so the sound dropped out. I was like, "What the fuck is it?" And I was trying to figure it out, and I realized that it's a telephone call coming through, and I did the quick evaluation. Law of one, telephone. Law of one, hook off telephone. And I'm back again.
The moment when you realized that we were looking at you and waiting on you, he was like, "Oh, all right." So,
and I found it interesting way back earlier in this session we've been having, when Trevor had said, he reminded us how in quantum physical experiments, they have a difficult time having reproducible results. Like you get different things happening each time you do an experiment. That is exactly what Creator is experiencing through us. We are all unique, different experiences in this great experiment that Creator is having. So you're all just these lovely experiments doing whatever you're doing. It's awesome.
You're right. Well, let's all get quiet. Let me see what time it is. Maybe it's about that time. Oh, no. I mean, it can be.
Well, I know that we're actually going to do one of those Law of One education things on next Tuesday. And it's going to be on the theme of the Creator experiencing itself.
Nice.
Because we did what is the Law of One this week, and then social memory complexes last week.
It seems like
I appreciate you guys making those videos.
Oh, what was that, Robert?
It looks like Josh has a lot of internet trouble. Like, just that there's a low bandwidth. I don't know what Am I getting Josh, the guy with the glasses?
Oh yeah, Josh.
Yeah.
Does he drop out during the video?
He just seems just really fuzzy and like just a,
I thought Josh was like Beard, the younger guy,
Yeah, he's got a beard and he's younger.
but the glasses is Bill.
Bill. Oh, okay. Yeah. Bill is in New Mexico. Yeah, I think he has a poor connection. Yeah.
That's how you know I watched it.
There you go.
Oh, and someone said they appreciate you guys doing that too.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, we're glad that we're to be of service.
Andre is all over the place. Interviews with people around the world, and yeah,
He's doing his service to others.
definitely.
Yeah. I do those interviews like I was inspired to do those interviews to help educate my local mayors and deputy mayors in my county. I go to the county council every couple of weeks whenever they meet, basically. Today I was there for their budget meeting. It was like 8 or 10 hours or something. It was long.
Did you fall asleep?
No, well, a few times I did some meditation, micro sleeping.
Well, if nobody else has anything else to say, we can go ahead and close it out. Actually, not we, but Roberts can go ahead and close us out.
And it is we.
Yes, it's a we, but you lead.
It is with great gratitude I'm sitting here with all of you using this amazing technology that others have given their lives to develop for us to use. And it's all because of Creator and the just incredible, beyond comprehension intelligence that resides within our Creator. And we can just barely see the inklings of it. And the love that is generated and given out to all of us, I pray that our higher selves, our guides, our spiritual and physical friends, all can help aid us in letting the love flow through us and with us, and we have no intentional barriers to it. And I thank you once again for allowing me to speak like this, and let us go in peace to love and serve humanity.
Outstanding. I literally felt that my whole art center was like going crazy from right when you started. I was like, oh, God, that was beautiful.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, till next time, guys. I love you all. Thank you.
Love you guys.
The one infinite creator.
Bye.